Hello girls, this is again Dr. Sangeeta Sharma, and in continuation with the previous topic, Keats's Ode to Autumn, I just want to tell you something that Keats belonged to Romantic age, and the Romantic age is also called the age of Wordsworth, and the period of Romantic age is 1798 to 1850. See, Wordsworth and Shelley, they too were nature lovers. They too loved nature. But Keats's treatment of nature is very simple, very direct, and very personal as compared to Shelley and Wordsworth. Keats does not spiritualize nature as Wordsworth. Neither he sees nature as a trumpet of prophecy regarding the future of mankind. I mean to say, he does not find any moral lesson for mankind. On the other hand, Keats goes to love nature for her physical and sensuous aspect. He does not spiritualize nature. Keats does not intellectualize nature. On the other hand, he loves nature for her sensuous aspect, for her sensuous beauty, for her external beauty, and he finds childlike pleasure, childlike happiness, childlike delight in her external beauty, in nature's external beauty. Keats enjoys nature to the fullest, and he gives complete expressions to express the sensuous aspect of nature. His love of nature is sensuous, and he loves the color of nature, the fragrance of nature, the touch of nature, the pulsing music which he hears from in the nature. These are the things that stir him to the depth. He feels very happy in every mood of nature. So in this way, yesterday I told you, and all these characteristic qualities are found in his Ode to Autumn. I just want to give a short revision of what I said yesterday. See, yesterday I told you that in the first stanza, autumn is described in all its skills. The characteristic quality, the vegetative function of autumn season is described in the first stanza. Autumn is the season of mist. Autumn is the season of mellow fruitfulness. Autumn is the season of mellow fruitfulness. Autumn is the season, the best friend of maturing sun. Autumn is the season when grapes mature. Autumn is the season when apple trees are loaded with apples. Autumn is the season when the gourd, the vegetable gourd, they mature. Autumn is the season when the hazelnuts plump, they get ripened. Autumn is the season when the birds change themselves, or the birds flower, birds bloom into flowers and in a very large number. So autumn is the season where you find the fullness of everything, where you find the maturity of everything. May it be fruit, may it be vegetable. Then in the second stanza, he describes autumn as a person, the personification. First, the autumn is seen as a harvester who is sitting on a granary floor, granary store, and his hair softly lifted by the winnowing wind. And I told you yesterday what is the meaning of winnowing. The wind which is used for, or the wind which is used for separating the grain from the chaff. So first he is seen as a harvester, and then second he is seen as a reaper who has cut half of the field full of poppy flower, and now due to the fragrance, due to the scent of poppy flowers, the reaper is sleeping soundly. He is made to sleep soundly, and half the remaining half of the field is left uncut. Then autumn is seen in the form of a gleaner who has kept a bundle of grass and upon his head, and he is maintaining the balance while crossing the brook. So in this way, autumn is personified. He is seen as a harvester, he is seen as a reaper, and he is seen as a gleaner. And he is also seen as a person who by the cider press means apple wine, the machine which makes apple juice, so he is seen as a form of a person who with a patient look is watching the last drop of apple juice hours by hours. And in the third stanza, the poet has expressed that he hears the music of autumn also, and we should not regret for the music of spring season. Why? Because autumn has its own characteristic qualities which is not to be found in the spring season. In the autumn season, we can see the barred clouds, we can see the fields covered or appearing pinkish due to the reflection of the setting sun falling on the fields. We hear the wailful choir, means the sad music, the sorrowful music of the small gnats, and the volume of the music of the small gnats depends upon the volume of the sorrowful music of the gnats depends upon the flow of the river. As the river blows high, the music of the gnats also, the volume of the music of the gnats also rise high. As the wind blows, as the level, or you can say as the wind blows lightly, the volume of the sorrowful music of the small gnats comes down. Then we hear the lamb bleat loudly from the hilly boundaries. We hear the music of hedge cricket or grasshoppers. We hear the music of the birds collecting, or music of the birds collecting in the sky, flying together in the sky. We hear the twittering of the birds. So these all have their own musics. These are the characteristic quality which are to be found in autumn season but which are totally absent in spring season. So we should not regret. See the first two lines of the third stanza: where are the songs of spring, where are they? Think not of them, thou hast thy music too. So where are the songs of spring? Songs of spring means where is the music of spring? Where are they? Think not of them. We should not regret. We should not think about the music of spring season. Why? Because thou means you, hast means have, thy means your, music means songs also. So autumn has its own songs. And what are those songs? The songs are the sorrowful song of the small gnats, the bleating of the lamb. Is it clear? The voice of the grasshoppers and the twittering of the swallows. These are the music which are to be found in autumn season. Is it clear?